program manager at Microsoft, international speaker, teacher, YouTuber, open source contributor, and if you follow me on Twitter, you will basically see me running all over the world as I go to conferences. I'm normally running. I should be in Lithuania right now running, but I couldn't make it because of doctor's appointment I had to attend, hospital and stuff, and just the dates wouldn't work and I couldn't get a flight that would get me there earlier, so I had to change last minute and become a virtual, so I'm really sorry about that. But yes, absolutely love sport, running, cycling, skiing, paddling, and I'm a fourth-degree black belt in Taekwondo. So that's enough about me. Let's get on to the simple question. And you're going to have to like really kind of shout because I can't see everyone. I can only see the first 3 lines of people. So are you all writing tests?
Yes.
Come on, I can't hear you. You've got to shout really loud. Are you writing tests?
Yes.
I don't know if you're shouting because I actually cannot hear anyone at all. So this is going to be very difficult. All right, let's see if we can put our hands up. Are you writing tests? Okay, good. I can see some hands. That's good. That's a nice positive number there of people raising their hands. Unfortunately, I cannot hear anyone, so that's going to be a little bit more difficult going forward. But let's see if we can make this work. So a couple of things about testing, right? Testing is hard, people say, at least. Testing takes time to learn, right? Building our applications, and then we decide, all right, let's test our apps, right? And this is a problem. We should be testing from the very start, and it should be part of our culture to always test our apps. So how can we get more developers to write tests and to enjoy writing tests? I have the simple answer for you today, which basically is use Playwright. I know, you're waiting for that one, weren't you? So Playwright is reliable end-to-end testing for modern web apps. And Playwright runs on any browser, so even if you're on a Windows, you can run tests on Safari, for example. If you're on a Mac, you can run tests on any platform, etc. So there's one API and tests run in full isolation. What that means is that when you run one test, it's kind of like in its own separate incognito kind of box, right? And then you run the other test, and nothing leaks from one test to another, so you can ensure that your tests are not leaking. Playwright is really fast, so all tests will run in parallel by default, so you don't have to do anything to get that going. It just runs in parallel, so it's super fast. And there's a lot of powerful tooling, which I'm going to show you today, and it's multi-language. So you can run your tests using Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, and C#. And again, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands, because I can't see a few of you there. Who here is a Java developer? Okay, 1 or 2. All right, excellent. Who here is a JavaScript or TypeScript developer? Yay, my favorite people. Thank you. Who here is a Python developer? Oh, nice Python people. And what about C#? Excellent. So we're very varied. So today I can't show you all languages because it would take too much time. So I'm going to focus on the JavaScript, TypeScript, and the C# part, right? But everything that I'm showing you, you can also do in Java and Python. So just keep that in mind. The syntax changes a little bit, but everything works exactly the same. Except I am going to show you a little bit more of the TypeScript JavaScript simply because we have an amazing VS Code extension, and if you're a VS Code user, this is a really great way to get started, and it's also really nice for talks and visually much nicer for me to show this. So I'm going to show you a lot using the VS Code extension. So to get started, simply install the extension. You'll find it here in the marketplace. And then you can just install Playwright, right? So just write install Playwright, and that will install everything for you. To install all the browsers for you, so you don't have to do anything. You can just choose, hey, I want Chromium, I want Firefox, I want WebKit. I only want one of those. Maybe you only need to test on one browser for whatever reason. And you can choose JavaScript if you don't want to use TypeScript, if you're still afraid and you're not ready to do the TypeScript world yet. I'm also at a GitHub Actions right now. The GitHub Actions, this is really cool because just selecting that box will create that workflow for you, so then you can run your tests on continuous integration without having to do anything. Your tests will just run anytime you push or make a pull request to your code. So yeah, select that box, like magic. So if you're in the C# world, then you basically do a .NET new console, Playwright demo, cd into that folder, and then add your project dependency, which is the Microsoft Playwright package. Build your project, and then install the required browsers and replace netx with the actual output folder name, and there you are, up and running with C#. So what you get after you installed, once you're using the VS Code extension, you will get the GitHub folder like I showed you, the tests folder with example. Oh, now I can see myself. Yay, that's so cool. With the example.spec.ts, right? That's what we're going to work on today, that little example file. And then we've got the test example, which is a to-do demo app, and it has a lot of tests in there you can kind of check in your own time. And package JSON, obviously, and then the Playwright config. You don't really need to do a lot with the config. It pretty much works outside the box, but I will show you later how to run tests on mobile and stuff, and that's when you might want to edit something in the config. If you're in the C# world, then you'll need to install NUnit or Microsoft Playwright NUnit, create a test file and run the test. So simple as that. You could use the XUnit as well, or MS, whatever, MS test or something. So yeah, you can use those as well, they're supported. So simple as that. Running your tests. So again, in Playwright, we can run all our tests, or we can run a set of tests, or we can run one single test, right? And as I said before, tests run in parallel, and you'll see it, like if you have 10 tests, it's not going to run 1, 2, 3, it's going to run maybe test 1, test 7, test 6, test 3, test whatever, and then everything is finished, and that's what makes it like, super fast, because it's all going like in parallel. So here is an example of running a test, okay? And you can see on line 3, there's a green triangle there. You probably can't see it, it's kind of really small, but there's a little green triangle in the VS Code extension on line 3. And once I click that button, it's gonna run those tests for me. And basically you can see it opened up a browser window. That's because I have the show browser button clicked. So I can click again and you can see how fast it was the second time because it's cached that browser, right? So show browser allows me to bring that browser up so I can actually walk through and visually see what's going on in the test, which makes it a nice developer experience. Again, if you're in the C# world, you just need to put in the headless equals false, because by default we run in headed mode, so in headless mode, so just do headless false, and then you'll be able to get that browser running in .NET as well. And then .NET test for running those tests, and off you go. So what about bugs, right? If we have bugs, we never have bugs. We do have bugs, sometimes we have bugs. So we can get some error messaging in VS Code, which is really nice. So you can do some kind of live debugging. So if we have our test here, again, this is a very simple test. And basically I'm just gonna get by text star, run that, and it's gonna fail, right? And Playwright is saying there's a strict mode violation. There's 3 elements here, and Playwright's like, which one do you want me to choose? I don't know. So it's suggesting some other things, but we might not understand the error message, so we can run in debug mode. As we run in debug mode, it's now going to go to the browser, and it's going to highlight the actual locators there, get by text star. It's going to think star is in the word get started, star is in the word star. At the very bottom of the page, star is in the word getting started. So Playwright's like, I don't know which one I meant to choose, so this is going to fail, this is no good to me. So this helps you write better tests and have less flakiness, because you can really see kind of what locators are good locators. Here there's like only one of these get star, that would result to only one element, so that would be good. And you can play around and modify those locators and selectors as you're building your application, so to make sure then you don't have any errors or debugging problems. So running in debug mode, if you're using .NET, it's these commands here, and then you can run and you will get the same thing. It's not showing the VS Code editor, but you'll get an inspector, and you get very similar experience. So it looks something like this. My inspector window is on one side and my browser is on the other side. And then I can just step through each one to kind of visually see what's going on in my test and play around with. Here I can do the explore, I can copy and play around with this. Now I'm showing you this in TypeScript, but you can use this, you can just change the language to any of the languages that you want. So I mentioned a little bit about locators. Now what are locators? Locators are a way to find elements on the page at any moment with built-in auto-weighting and retriability. Think of it like the Google pin just dropping on your page, right, on the Google Maps, right? So this pin, it's kind of like dropping on the page. That's selecting the element for you. So if you used Playwright previously, you might kind of say, right, await page.locator, data test ID equals directions.click, right? That's your locator, and the selector is what it's selecting, and it's selecting your data test ID here. Strict by default, as I mentioned. Now you can still use and create page.locator, but we have made things even better with Playwright now has new APIs inspired by testing library. So just to show you this in a little bit bigger, I just put this in because the community really shared a lot of that love, so that was great. So we have things like page get by label username, page get by label password, page get by role button with the name of sign in, page get by text welcome John. So you're able to use now a better way of finding those locators and more intuitive, right? Because you know get by role, it's going to be a button with the name sign in, right? Or get by area, you can also check for that if the button, if the label only has an area label name, etc. So you can really test your accessibility as well. So with web first assertions, basically they're created with the page locator. So in this case, our locators are get by role. So we like await, expect, page, get by role, navigation. This is in C#. So to have text async, and we're checking it has in the menu featured podcasts available on empoweredby.net, right? So awaited, it must be awaited. Remember, it must be awaited because that's how Playwright waits for things. So you don't have to set timeout to do anything like that, but just make sure you write the await in there. And then it requeries the given selectors until it finds them and waits until it has the 4 elements with the given text. So if you've got all these new kind of locators and you're thinking, but how am I meant to know what to use? And this is where we go with the picking selectors. Now again, you can do this in any language. I'm just going to show you it in VS Code by clicking here the pick selector. So when we click pick selector, what it does is it highlights over the page as we hover. You'll see get by role heading, name, installation, right? And once I click it, it's going to put it into this box, this pick selector box, and I can now just like press enter and it's in my clipboard and I can paste it into my code. So I can find a selector, put it in my code easily, rerun my test, and keep building my test. And I don't know what selector, again, just hover over it, click on this. This is the get right by role link, and the name is how to install Playwright. This is a great one. Let me see another one. Another link here, the get by role button, the name switch between dark mode and light mode. So again, I don't have to learn all these off by heart. I can use the tools to help me pick the right locators so that it's basically a lot easier for me to write better code. The code is there, this is what's given to us, and there we go. So that's the pick selectors. So web first assertions I mentioned already. So await, expect locator to be checked, to be disabled, to be added, to be empty, to be enabled, to have URL, to have screenshot, to have ID, etc. So this is all available to us in any language. So the same here in C#, and we've also the same obviously in Python and in Java. So now the most important part of the talk. This is my friend called codegen. I absolutely love codegen. Codegen is just so amazing. Codegen is going to generate your test by recording your actions. Now, some people are getting worried, like, oh my God, Codegen is going to take over my job. Codegen is not going to take over your job. Codegen is going to help you get started. It's going to help you get started writing tests so you got more time to do sport, right? So that's the aim of Codegen. So yeah, very nice way of getting started. Again, I'm going to show you here in the VS Code extension, and I literally will go to the testing sidebar. I'm going to click on record new, and you can see it's opened a browser window, but over in my VS Code, it's open test1.spec.ts. Started importing it, and it started writing the test. So now I go over and let's test Netflix, right? Netflix.com, we'll go up to the Netflix website, and it started writing the test, wait page, go to Netflix, great. I'm going to accept those cookies because we all love cookies, brilliant. And you can see a wait page, get by role button, name, accept, click, excellent, that looks good. And here I can click the logo. Now the user might not click the logo, but I'm going to click it so it kind of puts it in there, and I'll refactor that later and turn it into an assertion. Codegen can't generate assertions yet, maybe in the future, but right now it's click methods only, but we can refactor later, as I said. So let's go and do something cool. Let's scroll down and let's go to the help center. We always need help on Netflix, and let's see, what can we do? We can't sign into Netflix, so we'll click on here, right? So I can't sign in, we will make sure the heading was there, that's great. And you can see again, this is still adding the code to my file. I'm just clicking, get by role button, we say yes, that feedback was amazing, yeah, this answer was lovely, excellent. Now let's do something fun and let's test the chat, excellent, let's chat with Netflix. So we come along here, we click, we're in the chat, we're now in an iframe in this chat, and we're going to click on their issue. Okay, we're chatting to Netflix now, we're chatting to our customer service, and let's write it. Well, it's probably a bot right now, yeah. What can you help me with today? Like, hola bot. So let's say I'm just testing your chat, right? We'll send that to them. Let's see what Netflix come back with. So they come back with, a list of articles. Are they helpful? No, I want to chat with an agent. Can I sign in? No, I'm not going to sign in. You don't know who I am. Someone's going to meet me shortly. Great, you've got to wait 1 minute. Not bad. 1 minute is a very good wait time, Netflix. That's amazing. So now you can see I'm generating this test. I'm testing in an iframe. And let's see, will somebody answer us? Oh my gosh, the tension. Oh, I'm chatting with Marcial. Hi, Marcial. Okay, for Marcial, for the people here, I'm just going to say, hi, I'm just testing the chat. Thanks. And we'll send that to Marcial. Lovely. And then let's get out of here before we kind of spend too much of Marcial's time. Let's end the chat. Excellent. And email me a transcript of this chat. Let's do that. So let's click that button. And now watch this. Let me put in the email address. I'm going to put Debbie, and I'm just going to press send, right? And it's like, we've sent a transcript of this chat to the email address. What? You said it's just Debbie? No. So that's something that I can tell Netflix now they need to fix, because that button should not have been active. So we found a bug in their code. Amazing. So let's just go back, and we can also test across multiple domains. So there's a link here to this internet speed test. So you can go over to another domain, we can test on this. But imagine like a payment application where you've got to go to multiple domains. So as you can see, I'm now testing across another domain, just clicking around here, making sure that works. And then I can go back to my VS Code, I can stop the recording, and I now have a full test written. And I haven't even written any code. Like, that's kind of cool, right? So there we go. There's our chat. You can see the locator iframe there. You can see the links, get file, role, link, etc. Now our test is not perfect, right? As I said, we've just got quick events in there. We are going to have to make it better. We'll do that in a second. But thumbs up if you think this is kind of good, or give me a thumbs up. I can see people. Yes, excellent. That is brilliant. Cool. So that's codegen. Like I said, it's not perfect. So once you do this, you can check your test works by basically running it, of course. And you can see now I'm running through this. It's going to the Netflix. It's waiting for somebody, and you can see Playwright's waiting for that person. We got Shania this time, and we chatted with her. Lovely. We went to the next page, and checking this internet speed until that loaded, and then see Playwright is still waiting. Now the document is there. Everything's here. I can click, and we're ready to go. So you can see how easy it is to run your tests. Super fast. So again, as I said, I've got my code here. This is perfect, but now I need to go through it and start changing all those to assertions. So every click event, I would now go through here and turn into assertions. So anything like a heading, right? So, and I can see because I've got like, you take this first one, like the Netflix logo, so this is an ID, we could improve that and kind of turn it better. But you can see I turn that to an expect, right? Page get by role heading. A heading is not something the user would click, we just want it to be visible. So we turn that into an assertion. Get by role link, that's click, yes, excellent. Get by role link, click, excellent. Get by role heading. A heading is an assertion. Let's turn that into an assertion with a wait expect and expect it to be visible. And I can go through my test quite easily by these role selectors, which make it a lot easier for me to see what's what, and then just quickly add assertions in there, modify it, etc. And then run it again, and it will all work perfect. Now, if you're in the C# world, you'll do run this code here with codegen after it, and you could write the URL as well if you wanted to, or you could type the URL, whatever's easier. And this will give you the inspector here, right? So I've got my inspector, and I can click on that record button, and we can record a very simple test here, an MS test. So here's got my browser window, and I can click on the featured podcast, and I can click on a podcast here, make sure that's available. Let's click on the discover more. Let's click on the future one. Let's add that to my subscribe list. We can unsubscribe if we wanted to, and you can see here it's writing that code for me. So it's not in VS Code, right? This is now in this inspector, so it just means I will have to copy it and put it into my editor, whatever editor you're using. So I'm able to come along here and just easily write my test by clicking, and I have all my code. I'm not even a .NET developer, and I'm writing MS test code, so it's kind of cool, right? So yeah, click on the listen later button there, and you can see as I'm hovering over and selecting it, it's showing me, right? It's highlighting the get by role area link. It's highlighting everything, so I can even see what's available to me and what's a good one. Like some of these buttons here, name equals, and the square brackets there, right? That's showing me I need to improve that that code to kind of make sure it's like got an area name, for example, and is more accessible. So we can improve our code based on as we're building our tests, even with codegen, which is kind of very cool indeed. So moving on, let's have a look at this test here. Let me just show you that one there. Yeah, so when I was going through this, we could see this like square brackets here, and that was the contents equals square brackets. So I was able to turn around and say, hey, look, this is your area name. It's just got contents there. So the role is the button, the description is play, but there's nothing for the area roles. There's no area attributes. So this is a problem. We need to fix this. So yeah, we should fix that. So show report. When you're running your test and you have your test passing, you go home and everything's cool. When they're failing, you want to kind of also see what's going on and have a report. So this is the only time you'll need to use the terminal when you're in JavaScript, TypeScript world, the Node world. Just npx playwright test, run the test first, and then you can do npx playwright show report. And the show report will look like this. So you get a full HTML report, and you can kind of click into that and see what's going on. But you can see like, oh my God, it failed on Firefox. Passed on Chromium and WebKit. And then you can go and investigate what was going on there, why it failed on Firefox for whatever reason. But it's really hard on a list to kind of see what's going on. And that's why the trace files are your best friend. So if anything fails, especially on CI, being able to see the trace is really, really cool and important. So to record a trace for each test, now normally this is actually in your config and you don't have to do anything, right? It's already set up to fail on the first, or to record a trace on the first retry of a test. But if you wanted to run this locally for whatever reason, you can do npx playwright test -- trace on. In the C# world, I know that's a lot of code, but just showing you that the available option is there. You can do your screenshots, your snapshots, your sources true, and then just put path equals trace.zip and add that code in, and you've got this trace running locally. So once you go to the trace file, you could drag in and drop it and put it into this URL, which is trace.playwright.dev, or you can actually download it as well and use the Playwright server to serve it up. So this is my trace. This is what I'm going to get. So let me show you what this is. This is really, really cool. And basically at the very, very top, I can go and see exactly what went on in my test. I can scroll along here and I can see every single image snapshot of everything in time from every event, what was going on. You can see the color codes at the top. I'm going into a red one, which is a locator fill iframe. Right, that's where I was writing in something. You can see where I'm just testing the chat. Lovely. The end chat. Do I click that button? I can go back and forward, and I can see what action I actually made to kind of really understand, what was going on in the test. Here's my email address, Debbie, and I press click, and you saw I didn't have an @ right? So I can really kind of show that to Netflix and say, hey, there's a bug in your code here. There's no email address, and I'm able to press that send button. That shouldn't be. Not a big massive thing, but it's a bug that we need to fix. So that's the timeline. But now down in the middle, when you go down here over on the side here, you got your actions, right? If I click here in the middle now, I have a DOM snapshot, not an image snapshot, and you can see where Playwright is clicking on the specific action. So it's that little red dot there. You can see that's where it's clicking. Was this article helpful? Click yes. That's where I clicked. That's where Playwright clicked. So start the live chat. That's where Playwright clicked. That's great. And you can kind of really go through this test at all times to see, imagine something went wrong and you want to see what was going wrong. And you can see it's got like everything over there on the other side, the call, the locator.click, the wait time, the duration, the selector, the log of what was happening. It was scrolling into view. It's waiting for the iframe, the event element handle fill. And you can see here, look, I can actually type into this. This is a DOM snapshot, not an image. So I can actually type in here. Obviously, I can't run and play that chat with that person, right? Because it's not connecting to it. But it is a DOM snapshot, which means I can open the dev tools. I get access to the network, to the console, to everything that's going on. So I can see if there's a console error. I can see if there's a network request, if things are not coming back to me. And I can basically have like a really good understanding of what is going on with my test and how I can fix it, right? So
it also shows the metadata. There's another tab there, the metadata, which will show you if it's running on mobile, if it's desktop, etc. So I've got all this available to me, and I've also got another tab there that's called source, right? That will show me the whole source code for the test. So imagine you've found this on CI and you download this and you run this as a PWA, so it's running locally on your computer. And then you kind of basically say, oh, I can see what's going on, but I need to understand the source code of the actual test. So you can actually click on that source and you can kind of see, and then you could turn around to your other developer and say, right, this is the problem. I can see in your test you wrote this, and this is why this is breaking, etc., rather than having to actually go to the actual VS Code editor or whatever to find that code. So makes it a really, really, really nice developer experience. So I don't know, what do you think about the trace viewer? Thumbs up if you like the trace viewer. Yeah, excellent. Okay. So I'm kind of between which is better, codegen and trace viewer. It's kind of like, you know, both, they're both my favorites, but I do really love codegen. But trace viewer is, if you have a problem, trace viewer will just save your life. Seriously, it's so cool. Okay, so let's test on mobile, right? So let's go over here to configuring our tests for mobile Safari. So I'm going to just show you with the Playwright config in the node world how to do this, but you can do this on any of them. So this is all actually just commented out for you, and you just have to literally go in here and uncomment out the name mobile Safari, and it's going to use the device iPhone 12. There's a list of devices. I could use like 14. I could use whatever device is available to me. I'm just putting 12 in here. I could also test on a Pixel or on the Microsoft Edge or on whatever. So let's test on mobile Safari. So we come along here and we've got a testing the navigation menus, right? So we have a navigation menu. Let's just make a test really quickly so that we have this test. So I'm going to go along to the .NET podcast website, and I'm just going to create a very simple test to test the navigation. So I've got my test running here. Again, I can change and I can do MS test, NUnit, the library, or Python and Java for those Python and Java developers. So let's do NUnit, and I can come along here and I can write my test and go, right, let's click on the features. And let's just make sure that the heading features is there, because this is a scrolling page. Let's make sure featured podcast is there, available on. Let's make sure that heading is there, powered by .NET, and let's make sure that is there. And this is pretty simple test, just testing your navigation, and that's pretty much all I need to do, right? And I can go along here. Now I can turn those headings into assertions, but let's just do that another day. For now, I just want to make sure, I want to actually test it on mobile more than anything. So I've got my test running. I can stop the record. I can press the copy button. I can copy that over and I can put it into my editor, and then I can start running my test. So what happens when I run my test? Well, it failed on mobile Safari. Damn. Anyone know the answer or the reason why would it fail on mobile Safari? So, because I can't hear you and stuff, I'm just going to have to give you the answer. But yes, in case you're thinking because everything always breaks on mobile Safari, no, that is the wrong answer. Mobile Safari is great. Sometimes it does fail on mobile Safari because it's mobile Safari, but some of you are thinking because in a mobile, the menu is different, and that is exactly the right answer. So in the mobile, you're going to have the hamburger menu. So obviously now your test is not going to work on mobile and desktop the same. So what do you do to fix this situation? How can you improve this? Well, there's a couple of options. You could write two tests, right? And you got a desktop test and you got a mobile test. That's like, oh my God, way too much work. We don't want to duplicate our work. That would be a nightmare. You could just not test on mobile. Who cares about mobile? No, of course we care about mobile. So the best solution to this is actually put in an if clause. So we can do this, which is actually quite simple. So yeah, this is just the trace view. I'm going to fast forward this a bit. And here we got the if is mobile, right? So we've got test async page is mobile. If it's mobile, we're going to await page get by role button. Name is open menu, and then click. That's with an area role in there, for example. So that hamburger menu, if you had an area role, an area name in there of open menu, that's where the name would come from. So this hamburger menu, and and then you would await page, get by role link, name features.click, and then you'd have to repeat that down for every link, right? Because the user, what would the user do? The user would go back and click that menu, and then it would click the features. They would click that menu, and then they would click the next link. Then they would click that menu again. So you need to make your test the same as what the user is doing. Now, this one you could extract away and kind of like, use this again. You don't have to constantly write the same one, so don't worry too much about that. And this is what you do. So here we go. Here's our mobile test. And we basically have in our config. Great. Mobile Safari. Excellent. So I've come along here and I've put that in here. I'm using a CSS class in this example because they didn't have an area label for that button. And I'm running the test only on the mobile. And here I've got now my mobile. It's emulating that mobile for me. It's opening it up and you can see it's clicking that menu and it's clicking it super fast and the tests now pass. And it will run on desktop as well because its desktop is not going to go into that if is mobile clause and it's not going to click on the hamburger menu. So now our tests are basically passing on mobile and on desktop. So super simple and a super great way to make sure your mobile apps work just the same as your desktop. So moving on, you can also run your tests on CI. And I talked a little bit about this earlier with the GitHub Actions. If you're using the VS Code extension, you select that option, you'll get the GitHub Actions out of the box. And it's going to give you something like this. So you can see it in my GitHub workflows, playwright.yaml file. This is all created for me. I have to do absolutely nothing. I'm just showing it to you, but it's there. So it's just going to work. Now, if you're not using GitHub, don't worry. Playwright will work on any CI. From Azure to Bitbucket to whatever, to GitLab to Jenkins to whatever. So whatever your CI is, just, but this is just a really nice, especially if you want to get started first or play around with Playwright, the GitHub Actions workflow is so nice. It's a really nice way to test it out. So once you do that, you're going to get obviously your beautiful GitHub page with the workflows running here in the Actions tab. And this will show me, right, a red test passed or test failed, green test passed. And I can kind of go through each of those and it's going to give me a full log of what's happening. So I can kind of see, this failed. Why did it fail? I can investigate the log, or I can click on that Playwright report in the artifacts section. And if I click on that, it's going to download for me that zip file, which I can then open using the Playwright server and check out my zip, go through that trace viewer, see what was going wrong, fix my code, make another pull request, and then, everything is happy and my test pass. So that's basically Playwright testing. What we covered, VS Code extension, which is absolutely amazing. It's getting better and better. So if you are a VS Code user, do take advantage of it because it's great. It is, mainly for the Node world, of course. And then we've got codegen, which you can auto-generate your tests in any language. So codegen is fantastic, especially for getting started with your coding. You will need to then, modify your tests, add your assertions in, and improve things, but it's a brilliant way to get up and running. Run your code in debug mode. So you saw the debug inspector there that you can kind of go through. And I only showed you a little bit. There's even more to it. Locators and frame locators. So you can test, as we saw, you can test just your page or into an iframe, into that Netflix chat we tested. You can show reports, you can get a full report of what was going on, and you can see your trace files, right? So that PWA I showed you with the whole trace viewer. Now, if you're old school and you like videos, you can totally do videos and just have videos, but videos, they weigh a lot, and it's hard to kind of you can't open the dev tools on the video, right? So videos, screenshots, still possible, but trace viewer is, even much better. So do play around with that. As I mentioned before, Playwright has auto wait built in for all actions. You don't and you shouldn't add a timeout unless you need to. If you need to for whatever reason, you can obviously do that. I needed to at once testing a mobile menu, but actually it was tell the developers to fix the code because writing a timeout in your test to make your test pass probably means your code needs improving. But if you need to set timeouts, you can do it, but you shouldn't do it because it's already got the auto wait built in. Tests run in parallel for free. You don't have to pay for that. It just runs. It's just automatically running in parallel, which makes it super fast. And we saw how we can run tests on multiple browsers and on devices. It will emulate those devices for you. And it also intercepts requests. It follows all redirects. It bypasses cores and manages cookies. And my question is, I'm going to have to do thumbs up here. Are you ready to Playwright? Show me those thumbs. Oh my God, excellent, excellent. That is great. That is all I need to know from you. But yeah, basically, thank you very much. The docs are playwright.dev. We've got a Twitter channel, YouTube channel, especially for the latest releases. Check those out. We've got a Slack channel, community based, where everyone kind of hangs out in there. Playwright is by Microsoft. So if you want to email me anything, Debbie O'Brien at Microsoft.com, but I never read my emails. So you're better off Twitter DMing me. My DMs are always open. That's Debs_O'Brien. Remember that Playwright is open source and is free to use. So basically, yeah, everyone should be using it. And now I think we have some time for questions. So if anyone has any questions, let me know.
Do we have any questions?
What about Cypress? So that's kind of your main competitor. Okay, so what about Cypress? So your main competitor, I guess.
Yes, Cypress, Selenium, Test Cafe are all our main competitors. Anyone else that's doing end-to-end testing is our competitors. What about them?
Yeah, so that's the main question. Why we should choose Playwright instead of a Cypress, which is kind of industry standard right now.
Yeah, and for sure, Cypress is great. Cypress, I'm a Cypress user from previous years as well. Cypress has been around for many years, so they're very, very popular, of course. And we are very new. We're about just over 2 years in the making. A little bit of story. Playwright was built as a fork of Puppeteer, so the whole team, the people who created Puppeteer, moved to Microsoft to work on this testing tool, which we call Playwright. So hence the logo, the play, the person who writes the plays, who uses the puppets. And obviously, it's very different to Puppeteer now because we evolved it to a different direction to where Puppeteer was going. Puppeteer was never built for testing. So now we basically have Playwright, and we're building this because we feel there's a need for a lot of things. There's a lot of people who have problems with testing iframes with other testing frameworks, testing across multiple domains, having parallelism working for free without having to pay for anything, having your tests run faster. And the biggest one is having your tests that are less flaky. We want people to be successful with testing so that they can run their tests and basically your tests are just passing and you can go about your day. If your tests keep failing, if they're flakiness, if they're slow, people just turn their testing off, they delete their tests and they just keep building code. And this is what we want to help try and solve, right? So this is what we're doing, is building a better testing framework. What we consider is better for the reasons that I said, and there's many other, just like the tooling that I talked about and showed you. But of course, like anything out there, you got to make a choice that is better for you. What you prefer over the other is your choice. But basically, I hope that helps answer your question.
Yep, thanks, Debbie. Do we have any more questions? I guess no. Thank you so much, Debbie. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Thank you. So if you think of any other questions, you can DM me on Twitter. You can reach out to me. Unfortunately, as I said, I'm sorry I can't be there in person this year. It's my first year I'm missing it. I'm like, oh my God, terrible. But my Twitter DMs are always open. So, just send me a DM. Or also GitHub issues, right? If you go to GitHub, you can create an issue and just put question and ask a question that the team will answer. We go to those GitHub issues. Remember, Playwright is a community project. It's community driven, community run. It's backed by Microsoft, of course, but it's all about the community. So we want to know what you want, what feature you're looking for. We want to know if you're testing something out and you find a bug, let us know. We will fix it. But as with everything, use GitHub issues. And also we love stars. So stars on GitHub, that would be amazing as well. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you really enjoy the rest of the conference. Build Stuff is an amazing conference. And thanks so much for taking time out of your day to sit here and listen to this. Bye, everyone. Thanks.